Hey there everybody, it's Verity here from inkybutterfly.com. Thank you for joining me today for another card making video, and today we're going to make this nice floral card today. So this is me stamping my own background onto some basic white and creating something that's unique just for me, and using the same stamp set to create a bit of an embellishment there around that sentiment, and a bit of sort of layering with some die cuts and making some frames. So it was just on my desk and I just started building a background, and that's how this kind of came about, and then I just added stuff to it. So I'm going to be making the background with two-tone Flora. That's how we can get this nice layered flower, which is really cool. This one is Bubble Bath and Berry Burst, so a nice soft colour with the details being added with the bright tone of Berry Burst. And then in the background I've got Lemon Lolly, so I've used a little bit of that. I've sponged around and I've actually used it as an alternative on these leaves as well, but everything else is still Bubble Bath and Berry Burst. Okay, so that's those. The sentiments come from Something Fancy, and I've used the thank you there for that. And these frames and the sentiment are cut using this die set, which is called Radiating Stitches, I think. Yep, Radiating Stitches. This is an online exclusive, so you see glimpses of it in the annual catalogue, but it is available online. Okay. So this set I didn't purchase straight away, but I don't know, just felt like I was seeing stuff made with certainly the smaller dies, and I thought, where are they getting that from? And I found out. And one of the things that kind of put me off was exactly this. So for this is sized for American A2 cards, which are slightly shorter and fatter than ours. So, you know, it doesn't quite fit on there, and it doesn't cut well with our international A4 paper, but like I say, the frames themselves work great on the inside there. Okay, I say frames, they're different layers, but I've opted to use one as a frame, but just to save on some cardstock. So there we go. So that's the radiating stitches. So we're going to need the circle and the two inner ones on there. I'll put the other ones to one side. Pop these to one side for a moment till we need them. So let's get cracking. So of course I'm going to use different colours. I've ended up pulling out Balmy Blue and Blueberry Bushel for the flowers. And then I am going to go with the green. I'm going to go with Soft Sea Foam as the sort of subtle background colour there. Okay, so we'll start by stamping the background. So I've just grabbed a piece of cardstock. This is actually larger than I need it to be, and then we can cut it down afterwards. Just bring some grid paper in, just so, because I'm going to be stamping off the edge. And I'm going to use the solid stamps here. So I've picked out 3 of them. There's one of the larger flowers, a medium and a small, just to build that background. Just take that little bit of hair off there, otherwise that will show. So we'll just get cracking then. So if you're new to stamping, these are what we call photopolymer stamps. They're completely see-through, and you do with our ink pads, you just want to do some light tapping on the sponge there. Coat the stamp with ink and line it up where you want it. Pop it down, press firmly and lift up, and then you get your stamped image. So I'm just going to pop sort of maybe 3 of these around, and then we'll build up. Maybe put another one at the top as well, and we'll just put them in different sort of angles. So we'll do that for now with grabbing my little chamois off to the left there just to wipe that off. So to clean stamps in between. So I'm going to move down to this medium sized one, and again I'm going to do lots of light tapping onto the ink pad, and we'll start adding some of those. My balmy blue ink pad really does need re-inking. You want to go off the edge as well. Just trying to think about, I'm going to be using that other little stamp as well, so I just want to make sure I'm not sort of boxing myself into a corner really. So I'm going to wipe that off, and I'm going to bring in some of these small ones before I decide where else I want to do anything. So that gap's ended up a little bit small for that one. I don't really want them to overlap. It's not the look I'm going for. So we'll keep going with that, filling in the spaces. And if there are bits that don't stamp so well, I'm not going to worry about it. I think we might just finish off the top there with this one, rather than switch out again. And there will be a little bit that gets trimmed off this as well, so again, you know, we'll be able to pick out which bits we want to keep and which bits we don't. So that's those there with the balmy blue. And then we're going to use the blueberry bushel, so darker shade there, and we've got stamps that sort of give you the little details on the inside. So there's small, medium and large. So let's again light tapping on the ink pad, and because these are photopolymer, we're going to be able to just hover over the top of this and pop that down. And again, right, so that happens to have landed absolutely perfectly, okay, and you can tell because the little stamens in the side there, that's landed perfectly where it's supposed to be. But if it doesn't, really don't worry about it. So that one's just a little bit off, so you can tell if you look at it, but as a sort of finished piece of stamping, you're really not going to notice. So I think that goes there. And then we've got this one up here. So like I say, just don't worry yourself about over worry yourself about lining it up perfectly. It'll look just fine. Okay, so we'll get the medium one now. Exactly the same thing, we'll just hover over the top and just pop that into place. About there. So the other thing we're lining up stamps while I'm filming is you are right where I'd ideally like my head to be. So ideally I want this down here so I can see right over it and you can't see what I'm doing, you see. Okay, or I want to stick my head right where you are. So that's why it might look like I'm taking a bit of a long time over it, but it's just trying to get the right angle so I can see where I'm going. Okay, that's all the medium ones, and then we can just finish off with this little one. And I've got glare off the block as well from my light there. Not really sure what the orientation of that one was, but that'll do. So it's a stamp set that can you know, you don't have to be super perfect with. You can get away with not being perfect, which is just fine. which way around that was, but hey ho, that'll do. Right, so done all that. But what we need to do is just pop in something in the background just to fill up some of those spaces, and that's what I used the light colour for. So in the other example I used the Lemon Lolly. I'm just trying to find the stamp, and I thought I had it on a block, and maybe I didn't have it on a block. Must put it away. So yeah, I did. So there it is. So let's just grab that out of the box, and I'll pop that on one of these little A blocks, little teeny tiny block. Now I know, and this is another ink pad that I know really needs inking, re-inking, but I've got to put in an order. At the time you're seeing this, we'll have seen the well, demonstrators I should say, will have seen the new mini catalogue that's coming in September. So that's going to have all our sort of Christmas and Halloween stuff in, and there is some really nice stuff coming. Something for everyone, depending on what kind of sort of Christmas traditions you have. Right, I've just picked up my light green brush, and there is just a little bit of residual ink on here, and I'm just going to use that residual ink rather than adding any more on. So yes, the new mini is great, so can't show you the inside of it just yet, but what I will be able to show you is new products when I receive them. So having that green over the blue, just as it did with the pink version, it sort of dulls it down and gives it this sort of aged look. And I've just realised I should have trimmed it down first as well. So this is where you decide which bit you're going to chop off, and I think we're going to chop off this side. So I'm cutting this down to 4 by 5 3/4. I think I'll chop off the bottom. Right, there we go. I don't think I need to add any more ink actually, just leave it as it is. Okay, and it sort of just dulls it back down again. And it's totally optional, you didn't have to do that at all, you could have just left it bright white if you wanted to. So take it or leave it, the inking round there, and then what I will be doing is grabbing the Blueberry Bushel Stampin' Blend marker. This is the light one. I'm going to take the brush end and I'm just going to swipe across the edge of this. So as a demonstrator, I've been able to do a pre-order on that. So there is stuff on the way already. So if you want to see an unboxing video, I have done them before, I don't always do them. If you want to see that, leave me a comment and I'll do that for you. So the that ink around the edge just helps lift that layer off the background of the white card base that we're going to stick this to. So I'm just going to grab a card base. So I sit and cut loads of card bases all at the same time, so I've always got them to hand. So these are all pre-cut, pre-scored from my A4 cardstock. So I cut them at 4 1/8 lengthways. And then score at 5 7/8 to create these card bases. So I work in imperial measurements. I have to say I've got no idea what that would be in metric. He works in metric. Janice Thompson and Hannah McCurley. They work in metric. Okay, it's just a little fluffy bit that's sort of caught there. Just pull that off. There we go. So that's our card base all ready and done. So now we just need to create the bits and pieces for the top. So I'm just going to bring in another piece of basic white. So here's our Radiating Stitches dies. So I can cut that out and it will give me a rectangle with the stitching around the edge. But I know I want to put something else in the middle, so rather than waste the cardstock, I can actually cut both of these out and then end up with a sort of skinny frame and then the layer to go on top. You can cut them separately if you want, but obviously you're using up a load of card. Okay, so oh, that fits that one. So I'm going to cut these out both at the same time. So I'm going to pop the larger one down and just sort of secure it, and then I'm going to pop this one into the middle. So the only thing I want to just stress here is do not overlap your dies. Okay, so I'm going to be popping a couple of extra bits of tape on there to be absolutely sure they're going to stay together like that. Not necessarily to the paper, but so that this one won't move or vice versa and overlap each other. So that is the only thing that you could do that would potentially damage your dies, is if you overlap them and they try and cut into each other. While we're doing some die cutting, I'm going to stamp the sentiment. Okay, that's the thank you. And we're going to use the circle from that Radiating Stitches dies set. So we'll hover that over the top of there. Just pop that into place. And we're also going to do a set of flowers as well. So I'm just going to grab this set of flowers. And on this one, I'm actually doing the centres first. Bring back the balmy blue, and then we can go over the top with our little petals here. The centres line up beautifully on that. There's just this lovely little mark, so you'll line those up no problem. They're really easy. And we've got some leaves as well, and we're going to do those in the soft sea foam. So let's bring back that. Very, very light colour. Okay, so a couple of them. So we will need the dies for those as well, which are just here. So we've only got one for the leaves, so we are going to have to go through a second time, but it means we've got most of our die cutting done all in one pass, rather than you having to see me do lots of separate bits and pieces. Okay, so we'll do all of that, and I'm going to pop that in so that it leads on the corner. Okay, so if I bring in my base plate, as I build my sandwich, instead of putting it on there like that, with that, what's that called? The flat edge, the straight edge hitting the roller, I'm going to tilt it so that it's going sort of corner in first. Okay, and that means it will go through a lot easier and build the pressure slowly, rather than trying to sort of get past a great big hunk of metal. That's a die cutting tip for you. So just going to lift that off, and sometimes the card sticks and sometimes it doesn't, and all this kind of stuff. So there's that inner piece, there's our little frame. Okay, sentiment, and then I'll just peel all this off. So it's just the pressure makes it all sort of stick in. It's no problem at all though. I'll just pop everything to one side, apart from this leaf die that we need to use again. Peel off that tape. I've got one set of leaves. Don't need this anymore, so I'll peel that off. Oops. So, and we just want to go again with this one. Lining it up again, and just once more, and then we've got all our bits and pieces then to finish off our card. So I think, did you see how battered the that bottom plate was? So those cutting plates last a really long time. Those of you who watch regularly know I do loads of die cutting. I think it's a magic. It's almost as magical as heat embossing, and yeah, I mean, yes, that they wear out eventually, but they last a real long time. And if you they kind of start to bend a little bit. I don't know whether you can see the bend on that on this angle. But anyway, if they're starting to bend, flip it over, start cutting on both sides. And then I keep this one, my top plate, it's sort of clean, if you like. It has indentations in it because of the pressure, but when that one eventually gives up the ghost entirely and becomes really warped and awkward to use, that will become my bottom plate, and then I'll get a brand new clean top plate. And you'll get loads of use out of them, loads and loads. Right, so we're going to bring back our blending brush just quickly. Again, don't have to do this, but I just thought it tied it in a little bit with the rest of the card, and I'm just using that residual ink again just to go around the edge. Could be any number of light greens on the back of that, but it doesn't really matter. If you want to just ink your brush up again, then do so. And then I'm just going to grab the brush that I've used for my dark blue ink, and I'm just going to do a little bit of that around here as well. Again, just to sort of bring it in. And you can do this with your brush as well. I used to do this with sponge daubers, because I just want it on the edge, really, just to sort of lift it a little bit. There we go. Cool. So, a bit of ink in there. Okay. Right, have we got everything? I think we've got everything. Yeah, let's do it, apart from the ribbon. That's the only thing we haven't got at the moment. While we're, but I think we'll put this frame on next. Just going to use some dabs of glue. The original sample I actually used my mini dimensionals, but I'm going to stick this one flat. Just to do something a little different. So I'm just trying to be ginger with okay. Sometimes I'm a bit heavy-handed with the glue, and I just want it to be careful with that. Don't want too much of it on there. So we're going to pop that in the middle. Like so. Okay, and again, having these sort of a bit of dulling down the background a little bit means that bright white just sort of comes through a little bit more. Okay, but then this middle portion we're going to pop up onto dimensionals. So it's just going to grab those and some little off-cutty bits there as well. And again, if you want to, you could just pop some dabs of glue, just dabs, which will just give you a bit of breathing space if you want a bit more time to line it up, because dimensionals kind of pretty much stuck, especially once you've given them a bit of a press. So just make sure it's all nice and lined up, and then that's on. So it just gives you a little bit of interest, but it also means that if anyone's peeking behind, you can still see the stamping underneath and it doesn't look plain. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so on the original I actually wrapped ribbon around this and then tied the knot. This time round we're going to use the same ribbon. This is the herringbone ribbon in white. Now leave it on the roll, and we're going to tie a bow. So I'm making two sort of bunny ear loops there, and we're just going to do a simple knot in the middle, and then we're going to, so you want to tie it quite tight and then mess about with the size of the loops that you want. So the size of your bow is obviously going to need to be appropriate for your project. So I just want to pull that out a little bit. Okay, so I don't want it massive. Okay, but it is quite a wide ribbon, so it's going to be rather fluffy. And I think we'll cut that about there for now, and then we've got room to trim it down as we want to. Okay, you get loads of ribbon on a spool, but you're thinking, wow, that's loads of ribbon, but you get so much ribbon. There's only been a few rolls of ribbon I've ever got through. One of them, and it tends to be the white ones, because they're quite, obviously they're versatile. A couple of dimensionals on the sentiment. And I'm just sort of trying to think about now how we're going to build up all these little pieces. A little bit of a dimensional on those little bunch of flowers as well. So that we can get this bow in the right place. Okay, so I want it to be a little bit more central this time round, rather than down in the middle, because I felt like there was too much open space. So we'll pop that in, we'll pop this in, like so. Your best friend when it comes to sticking ribbon are going to be mini glue dots, but I'm going to use 2 on this big old knot that we've got on this. So you just press down onto that adhesive and it kind of comes off the roll there. So we're going to tuck this in. Somewhere around there. Just bringing those flowers around a little bit so you can see them a little bit more. Okay, and then we can tidy up the ribbon tails. A couple of little dabs of glue there for the these little leaves that we're going to tuck in. Use more if you want. It's beautiful. Okay, so how much do we want off these? As long as your tails are longer than your bow loops, it won't look odd. we go, beautiful. And then we just want a little bit of sparkle, so we'll just pop on some of our little rhinestones. So odd numbers look good, so we're going to go with 5 of those to frame that up. There we go. So that's that. Really nice sort of fluffy, fussy card. I like the pink one. Okay, but again, what I always like to show you is same stuff but using different ink. You can get totally different looks out of your cards. Okay, so we could make this in a whole heap of colours. Purples would be good as well, right? And we've got, like, you know, the reds. Rather than that, we could even go blimey, let's do a jazz again and do it all vintagey. I mean, you could quite easily make that with shades of brown and, you know, touch of see, a petal pink isn't a favourite colour generally, but it's got that sort of, it's a bit of a sort of dirty pink, if you like, which you could probably get away with in a vintage look. So have a play with it and see what you come up with. Okay, so hope you've enjoyed that today. A bit of a longer video than I've done of late, but you know, sometimes you want to do a nice fancy card. Lovely to spend some time with you again. Hope you're staying safe. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.